What is up, fellow WoW players, and happy fall. And with this, I wanted to mention that this channel has been growing and growing, and I can't be ever so thankful that that you guys have been joining us on our journey. Of course, this journey will be adding a stream to this very, very soon. And I want to say that with new content and with new people coming on board, I wanted to say hello. My name is ShawnSetGO, and I make content really about discussion-based content in the World of Warcraft space, but really just about games in general. We talk about the good, the bad, and the solutions as well. So if you're looking for content more like this, subscribe to the page, like the page. But today, we're going to be talking about delves. Delves are one of those things that I think that you either like them or you don't, but I think that most people are kind of neutral, you know, like either you don't like them, but you're like, hey, you know, do your thing, you know, like it's kind of your thing, or vice versa. But myself and a number of people, I'm sure, have gotten along the grapevine that things have gotten a little bit stale. So what's coming? What's going to happen? Let's check it out. So the post that I saw was, I hope that they'll add more interesting rewards to do Delver's Journey in Season 2. After being decked out in champion gear, I don't feel like doing Delves is worth it anymore. I'm sitting on a whole bunch of coffer keys that I won't use. Delver's Journey would be a great place to keep Delves relevant for longer. Have some really cool cosmetic rewards at the end of the track would go a long way for me, in my opinion. Yeah, the end rewards are cool, but my characters got geared faster than I could unlock Warbound gear. So it's like, I feel like a lot of people are in the states where it's like, it's too menial to upgrade gear, or if you've gotten the best gear you can get in Delves, there's not really wanting to wait for the chance that you're going to get hero track gear in your vaults, and that's understandable. I think that's totally valid. I'm not saying that giving people more opportunities for hero track gear when they just do Delves is the way to do this, but this brings me to my second point in the second post here. It says, Fungal Folly, Blizzard, I dare you to say that this delve was tested by anyone and deemed fun and engaging content. The first one says, those and underwater ones were by far the worst ones, fun-wise, at least for me. And yes, if you have water breathing, etc., they don't become nearly as bad, but I'm personally in a state where I feel that delves in general, that have a certain way you can fight them. For example, there's a delve where you basically have a flamethrower gun that takes over DPS because it's going to do more DPS than you're going to do. And when you play a tank role, for example, it's very confusing because you cast anything and it goes away. So you're trying to cast protection spells, but then also trying to use that to do enough damage. And so a lot of delves for me, while they're just easy peasy, they kind of become a slog where it's any sort of mechanic that has me doing something that's like, I don't know, just outside of the norm, like where I just can't just pull mobs and like tank mobs. It just becomes a total slog. And I don't want to do things that my class shouldn't be doing. Like I'm not trying to do a billion DPS. But it feels like at the bare minimum that we should have a second NPC companion in these things, but also these ones were scenarios. I don't feel like that's what delves ought to or should do. They shouldn't just be this like little game that you play in this very like microcosm of a scenario, where it's like, you do this in no other part of the game, but you know, let's do it for this part of the game. And it just feels like more chores and more quests, World of Chorecraft, you know what I mean? But the whole thing, I decided that I think I should come up with a list. So I've come up with a list. Let's look at some of these comments a little bit more. This one says, it says, the annoying tricksters that summon a mob that hits a clothy for half its health and untargets the main mob. I used to be frustrated by this too. I figured out the clone doesn't do much damage. The problem is the real mob is casting a very short range frontal swipe that can be moved out of thus. Does a lot of damage. For me, it's the ones that have the webs, and then you have to use like the grappling hooks. And then you just end up pulling whole rooms just because you have one mob that's like a zillion health, and when you're playing a tank, I don't want to play DPS. Like if I wanted to do DPS, I would have picked DPS. I want to play my tank. But Brand does okay DPS, I guess, but I need to have him as a healer because there are moments where you can get like absolutely nuked. As long as you're standing on stuff, I'm not gonna die. I could stand in the fire as long as I'm getting healed, but like he's not doing great DPS anyways. So it's like it's kind of weird to have. And even if you have like the level 4 curios, it doesn't necessarily make him a better DPS player when you have him on a healer role, and I still need him on a healer role, so it's just kind of confusing for me. It says, I check the map every day to see which delves are bountiful, and if I see the one with poison gas, underwater, exploding mushrooms, or candle torches, I just don't do them. Yeah, so it's like these scenarios, like with the candles, it's like the candles kind of ruins it for me, because what you end up doing is you pick up the candle, you go where you're supposed to go, you drop the candle just so you can have some freedom of movement, and you just kind of wash, rinse, repeat. It's like a mechanic that you just do everything in your power to avoid, and what it ends up doing is it makes you want to get out of the delve so bad that I don't even want to explore around for treasure. Like if it's not in my direct view, I don't care to even look at anything, because it's just like I just want to get out of that area. These aren't fun enough to where it feels like a soloable dungeon. If you want to look at what a soloable dungeon should look like, look at Asmongold's old gold guides from Mist of Pandaria. That's what that should look like for delves. It should just be that in delve format, like that. That's what it should look like. You should have mechanics that you would get from dungeons and mythics, and you should have them be fun and exciting, but not in the sense that we're just making it a game that you're just doing like take the slime blaster and coat everything in slime, or take this item and move all the circles to the left. Like it just becomes this whole thing where it's just, to me, it's just incredibly unfun. And so, like I said, came up with a list, and with that list, there's a few things that people may or may not disagree with, but here are the things that I think personally are going to be the up and coming features that we're likely to see with updates to delves. So these are my potential delve features to come to WoW in the near future. So updates to the current NPC companion, Bran Bronzebeard. I think this will be natural, of course, over the course of time, but the main thing I want to talk about with the updates to the current NPC companion that I would like to see is, or that I hope to see, but they may just update Bran as like a functional character, having him sort of multi-class for certain people who need it, like the people who, or if you're getting one shot or killed. But I hope this goes a little bit further into multi-classing, say for people like myself who go in as a tank. I don't want to go in as EPS. I'm not going to play healer. Then make him a decent DPS and healer at the same time. Like you're already having him do both in a sort of way, but the DPS, it really isn't there. So maybe having a little bit more functionality, core functionality, where you can control what he's doing a little bit, like some sort of commands that you can have him, like that you can manually click and connect with in some sort of way. While you have like the other ones on autopilot, say like the healing part's still on autopilot, but then the DPS ones maybe that you can control a little bit. Additionally, I think the delve mechanics are going to be updated, so we're going to have a lot of those scenario-based things. Like I don't think there's a way to avoid it entirely. I think that there's nothing wrong with things being thematic. I understand with the kobolds, the whole candle thing. I get that, but I think there's a difference between having a dungeon that's based on a theme versus having everything just be a scenario-based quest, kind of like how we used to have all those you'd ride on a dragon quest and you just shoot bombs down at everybody for a little while, and then you just fucking you bounce. And then, like that was the quest, and it's just something to eat up your time, like it just becomes this thing where at first it seems kind of neat, but after like 4 or 5 times you're over it. And these are things that you should be willing to do and wanting to do for extended periods of time. Updates to delve treasures. I feel like in a lot of ways the treasures are fine. I'm in a personal boat that I don't think that delve reward or loot should take the place of or be as good as Mythic Plus gear, with the exception of Vault. However, I do think that the delve treasures should always be, I guess, like the most currency or thing that you're searching for. I think that's something that the 20th anniversary has actually done very well, is like putting the bronze celebration tokens in almost every facet that you do. So I think that delves should always have stuff or currencies or something that you should be looking for, even if it's not the best way to farm for it. That way you're just kind of passively collecting that stuff when you're doing delves for everybody who doesn't like doing delves. Update the delves powers, to delve powers. I'm imagining this like, just like in the underwater delves where you have like you gain, I guess, for a short amount of time whenever you grab a bubble. I'm imagining this like getting certain buffs. I do think that depending on who you're playing, say if you're playing healer, tank, you should get different buffs or maybe buffs to your companion in different ways. But I'm also in the boat of that. I think there should be a delve talent tree in some sort of way. But then again, I don't think that's necessary whatsoever. Update the delve mobs. I honestly, the mobs, I mean, they're just kind of meaningless. The only ones of any significant note are the ones that have, what is it, the Zek'vir, the little thing on them, and then they're like super strong. Sometimes, or like there'll always be like a bunch of nothing mobs, a bunch of very tiny nothing mobs that like get insta killed. And then there'll be the big massive mobs, and they're always in the center of the room. And when you go for them, you'll always pull the casters off to the side. You'll always pull them. And then what Brand does is he throws all his potions, his first step. He's like, oh no, my person's in danger, but you've already rocked across the room. So you gotta go all the way back over, and then they despawn, and it just gets frustrating. So like right now, mobs, like they're kind of irritating in that they're too plentiful to pull an excessive amount and be reasonable, because sometimes you just get nuked with a random absurd amount of damage, but at the same time they're very insignificant in that they're not very memorable or noticeable. All the ones I really remember are the big kobolds and like maybe the big crabs in the underwater ones, but they're not very like cool or interesting or significant, I think, is the biggest thing, and I hope that changes. A new NPC companion. I mean, like I said with the whole multi-classing thing, I think that filling out a roster would be the inevitable goal. I think that most people who do delves do it with at least one other person, but if you solo delves, I think that's probably the second most common. But I think that having NPC companions, like additional NPC companions, so you can try out different things, would be cool. Not just have like a pure DPS or pure healer, maybe somewhere in the, like someone with a little bit of variety to them. You know, that way it's like an interesting type of thing. The main thing is, like, I feel like whenever you're playing delves, you should be able to play the role you want to play in and achieve just doing your role, not trying to do outside of your role, but do your role and achieve it. You know, even if it's a little bit awkward to do that in old content, delves should make it comfortable. In that, like, say if I were doing a regular mythic dungeon on my own, maybe with one healer, I would be able to do it. It would just take forever. So make it to where I'm able to achieve doing my role as a tank and clear stuff without it taking just forever, just because I'm a tank. That's my honest opinion with it. Ability to impact. Oh, sorry. New NPC companion curios. Honestly, there's a way to min-max this, and there's a few that are really good. And there are, of course, then the bountiful delves. That's how you get them. I'm not saying there's a problem with the ones that currently exist. I guess they kind of all boil down to like buffs to healing or buffs to damage. There's just not really a whole lot to them. Like you could benefit from them, but you could also live without them. They don't really feel as impactful as they should. So I think curios should allow for crazy experimentation. I want to see crazy damage in a delve. I want to see stuff, people moving oodles and boodles, like fast, like super speed fast, or it unlocks certain like abilities so you can just spam them. Like I want to see people spamming execute, because like my curio has a chance to just unlock my executes and max out my rage. Like I want to see crazy stuff. That's what I think should happen in delves. Like you want to make them fun. Allow the curios to just unlock your character. Allow your NPCs to give you the freedom to do so and experiment crazy ways. I want to see, just as much as I see Mythic Plus builds for characters and raid builds for characters, I want to see delve builds that go absolutely insane and one-shot characters, and you just bum rush bosses. Who cares? It's solo content. Who's it going to impact? Nobody. So make it fun so people who don't normally do delve content actually have fun in it. Because so many of the delves are just a drag, and I wouldn't do them if I didn't have quests that were like attached to it, or weeklies that were attached to it. Ability to impact delves of guildmates, friends, and strangers with your actions. I'm thinking that this could come in a number of ways, in a sense that, like, oh, if your guildmates have done this many delves, you'll get a buff. Same thing maybe with friends, etc. But I'm also thinking that if you are in a delve, I don't know, like there's got to be a way, like other than help, maybe just hinder people and bother people. PvP delves, you know, like randomly Makara in the middle of the delve or something like that. But other than that, I foresee that being like buffing to delves in some sort of way. Additionally, brand new delves. I mean, honestly, this is probably the thing I want the least, but I'm foreseeing it happening. If I were to say, like, what would be my favorite version of this, I would say old world delves. Keep us going back to the old worlds, have old world areas that have delves, and have them be thematic based on the areas, you know, like a molten core delve, you know, like something like that, where it's like, it's just themed off of the area, you know, something that's kind of like just inspired by it. That way we're going back to the old world and seeing some of those beautiful things in the old world as well. That would be my favorite version of it, but really I don't want new delves. I don't want new delves in the War Within, or to like rotate them out. Like I don't really care for that. Updates to delve bosses, like delve mobs, they're kind of just insignificant. There's not really a lot of special bosses or bossing. In delves, I feel like delves should feel as significant as raid bosses, because there's typically only like one. So I mean, to me at least, they should be a little bit more different like that. I like that they have sometimes like the rare elites and the mini bosses, etc. But I feel like the raid bosses are kind of just meh. There's not a lot to them. They're not very special. But there's a lot of opportunities to have stuff that is special, because you can do stuff not necessarily based in old WoW lore, but you can do stuff that's based in like Hearthstone lore and characters that exist in those, you know, so I think that there's a lot of opportunity to have delve bosses that are just a bunch of goofs, you know, but that are cool mechanics, or they're fun, you know, do like a Luke Goblin boss or something like that, but just have fun with it, you know, make it fun, make it interesting, make it delves cool, fun, and interesting, because who cares? Like, who cares about making it serious? Like, no one's doing delves like for super serious, uber serious content. Nobody is. There's nobody that's happening. And then a new seasonal nemesis, so, you know, having another Zek'vir I think is a great idea. I think that was really interesting for people. I want to say this, like, and I'll say this with a lot of pride and weirdness. I haven't beat Zek'vir. I faced him twice. The first time I faced him, I was facing a rare elite mushroom, and then he spawned on me. I nearly killed him, but I wasn't ready for him. And so like the way I was in the corner, I fudged it up. And then the second time he came in, like, I was already like super low health when he spawned, and it was just, saw him for a second, died immediately. I literally have never seen him again. And I've done delve semi consistently. I do a few for my vault every week. Never have seen him ever again. Just, I've not gotten that lucky. I don't know if there's something I'm supposed to be doing, but literally have not seen him. So I definitely think that having that more often, not more often, but like having more of those would be kind of cool. Especially if you have a bunch in rotation, so you don't know which one you're going to get all the time. I will say though, this became a matter of annoyance in Diablo 4. Getting the Butcher all the time was just like, after like the first 2 times, you're just like, oh geez, this again. So as long as it provides something cool always, I guess I never really care, you know, like it's taking up your time. So if it provides your either a cool piece of gear, bonuses stuff to your delve and stuff like that, then I'll never be mad at it. But if it just provides, you know, like, oh, you did it, you know, and not much else, then that's when it's kind of like boring. So And then new delve scenarios in existing delves. Like I said earlier, I think the scenarios are just kind of silly. If it's not something that is, even if it's something that's super easy peasy and not time consuming, it's just gonna get annoying. Like let's not make it about that. It's okay to have like aspects to it, you know, like pressing switches, killing things in certain ways, approaching an area and doing certain actions. I mean, like, for example, Karazhan chess, one of the coolest and memorable things in the game. A lot of things about Karazhan are super cool and memorable. I'm not saying you can't have cool scenarios, but make it like one aspect, you know, like make it like the first, up to the first like mini boss, you know, like a quarter of it. The rest of it should be the rest of the delve, not the whole thing. It seems like we're just going like, hey, free some people, or like, hey, save some people. And then after that, you're going to sabotage some things. And then after that, you're gonna dance on one foot. You know, like it's a bunch of chores to make the delves seem longer than they are and add extra time. And they're not really fun or interesting. So they definitely could do new delve scenarios, but not like they're doing them now. I think they need to be modified and changed in that way. So what are your thoughts on this? I mean, I hope this has provided some light for you, or, you know, I hope this has given you some ideas of what things that you hope for to come for in the coming patches. And what, I guess, if you were to model your next delve off of any dungeon, raid, etc., what would you model it off of as like an example? Love to hear it in the comments. Of course, if you liked the video, give it a like, subscribe. Help us on our road to getting 1,000 subscribers. That way we can start to make some more content regularly. It helps out a bunch. But if not, and you just enjoyed the video, thanks for the like. Thank you for your time, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.